The fun thing is I get to watch. I have in the last few years, rewatched a lot of them. And a lot of these movies do not hold up in any way.
What hasn't held up?
So, Jim Carrey movies, in general, like that humor was, let's call it gross out humor or shock humor. It doesn't hold up 30 years later when it's been played. When that sort of stuff has been played out. And like Dumb and Dumber in 1994, I would have married it if it was a human being. And today I don't even know if I laughed out loud, to be honest.
You know what still holds up, and I didn't. It was one of his of the era, one of his worst movies, even though it was still hilarious. Is Cable Guy. Cable Guy is really good.
Well, I think the real reason is Cable Guy's the only one of those type of movies. Now, I don't dislike Jim Carrey. Truman Show, I think, is brilliant and amazing, and a lot of his serious works are great too. So I do agree with you there. Cable Guy's the only one of those movies that was actually a legitimate artistic work. Like there was a darkness to it. Judd Apatow was involved in writing it. Mm-hmm. And it was early Apatow, so like there was more of like a deeper story there than your Ace Ventura. I'm going to talk out of my ass and find a dolphin.
Yeah, this should be. I'm going to try and put this in the pod because it's a really good conversation. But I tend to still love those movies. Dumb and Dumber, I see what you're saying, but I have such nostalgia for it. Ace Ventura, I'll laugh every time. I just can't not laugh at it.
Ace Ventura holds up a little bit better, but it looks very old. It's
right.
People are wearing early '90s like big pants and floral shirts and.
What about the mask?
I didn't like the mask when it came out.
Oh, I was a big mask guy.
I mean, I thought it was like cool looking, but like it didn't do anything for me. But again, it's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Great, that's great.
That's amazing. That and Truman Show are two of literally my favorite movies. I mean,
The Majestic's very good.
I love The Majestic. Yeah, where he had amnesia and then was in the small town in like the 1920s in California. Yeah, really, really good. He's an amazing actor and an amazing talent. My only thing I'm saying is 30 years after, that type of humor doesn't resonate with me personally, and my kids didn't think it was that funny. And my kids are obsessed with, they love every Will Ferrell movie and every Adam Sandler movie. They just weren't into Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber in the same way. It's
so funny because Jim Carrey was like, at the time, a way bigger star than I think both of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he ascended way to way higher heights than Adam Sandler at the time for certain, and then for Will Ferrell also for sure.
Oh, for sure. Will Ferrell movies never made Jim Carrey type money. You got to remember when Ace Ventura came out, it was a little small, tiny independent movie that cost literally nothing to make.
Yeah,
and it was the number one movie in America for a long period of time.
I saw David Alan Grier talk about it, and he said he saw the screening with Jim, and Jim was like, "What do you think?" And he was like, "It's great, man. It's really good." And then turned to Tommy Davidson and was like, "That's gonna sink him. That shit's not gonna make any money." And it was like the biggest movie in America. So
it was definitely. But you also have to remember a lot about comedy. A lot about comedy is talking about something, seeing something, or making an opinion that no one else has really made before. So when you yes, Dumb and Dumber did 50 styles of jokes that were right on time, right on point, and brilliant at the time. But we've seen them so many times in different variations over the years,
right?
That going back to watch that, you're like, oh, I get
right.
that trope.
No, that's exactly right. We've seen like 100 different comedians do their take on what Ace Ventura or what Jim Carrey was doing in the 90s, through the 90s and even into the 2000s. And now you look back on Jim Carrey and you're like, oh, he's doing a copy of people copying him. That's what your brain registers it as.
Well, Dumb and Dumber is just essentially a remake of The Jerk with another jerk.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what it is. It's a road trip movie about the dumbest person in America. I mean, it's a complete ripoff of Steve Martin, but it worked. There's no question about it. And
there were two of them too. There were two, Dumb and Dumber.
Well, there was also Dumb and Dumber that didn't involve Jim Carrey.
And then there was Dumb and Dumber 2, T.O., that did involve Jim Carrey, and that was pretty bad.
It just didn't go. So it was basically the same laugh pattern in 2 that I had in 1 watching it recently.
Yeah,
like comical. Like it has funny moments, but like the humor's the same.